Once upon a time, in a quiet little village surrounded by tall green mountains, there lived a 24-year-old man named Daniel. On the outside, Daniel looked just like any other young man, strong, healthy, and full of life. But inside, his mind was a battlefield. Thoughts raced through his head like a storm that never ended. He worried about his future, regretted his past, and could never seem to rest in the present moment. Each night he tossed and turned, chasing sleep that never came. He smiled less, sighed more, and carried a heaviness that no one else could see. One day, after another long night of restlessness, Daniel heard people in the market talking about a wise old sage who lived high up in the hills. They said this man was once a famous psychologist in the city, someone who had helped countless people find peace of mind. Now retired, he lived quietly among nature, offering wisdom to those who came seeking it. Daniel's heart stirred with hope. Maybe this man can help me find peace, he thought. So Daniel packed a small bag and began his journey. The road was long and tiring. He walked through forests, crossed rivers, and climbed steep hills. But he didn't stop. The hope of a peaceful mind pushed him forward. After several days, Daniel finally reached the small village in the hills. There, covered in vines and flowers, stood a tiny wooden house. On the porch sat the old sage, eyes closed, calm as still water. Daniel approached quietly and said, "Grandfather, my mind is restless. I can't stop thinking. I want peace in my heart. Can you help me?" The old sage slowly opened his eyes and smiled, his expression as gentle as the morning sun. "Ah," he said, "so you are looking for peace. Come with me, young man. I will give you a small task." The old sage led Daniel to his yard, where he filled a glass with water, right to the brim. Not a single drop more could fit. He handed it to Daniel and said, "Walk from here to the edge of the village and back. But remember, not a single drop must spill." Daniel blinked in surprise. "That's it?" he thought, but he nodded respectfully and began his walk. The village was full of noise and life. Children ran and laughed, shopkeepers called out to customers, and dogs barked at passers-by. But Daniel kept his eyes fixed on the glass. Step by step, he moved carefully, afraid even to breathe too hard. People watched curiously, whispering to each other, but no one stopped him. They knew the wise man's lessons always had a deeper meaning. Finally, after what felt like forever, Daniel returned. The water was perfectly still, not a single drop spilled. "Grandfather," he said proudly, "I did it. Not one drop fell." The old sage nodded and smiled. "Good," he said, "but tell me, did you see the children playing by the road? Did you hear the dogs barking?" Daniel frowned, confused. "No," he admitted, "I didn't notice any of that. I was focused only on the water." The old sage's eyes twinkled. "That," he said softly, "is the secret. You see, peace has always been inside you, but your mind is noisy because it keeps wandering. To the past, to the future, to things you can't control. When you focus only on this moment, just like you focused on the water, your mind becomes still. There is no fear, no regret, no noise, only peace." Daniel stood there silent. Slowly he began to understand. The peace he had been searching for wasn't hidden somewhere far away. It was within him all along. He just needed to be present. He bowed deeply. "Grandfather," he said, "I understand now. If I want peace, I must stay in this moment." The old sage smiled again, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and orange. Birds flew back to their nests, and the hills glowed softly under the fading light. Daniel walked home that evening, but he was no longer the same restless young man who had climbed the mountain. His heart was lighter, his steps slower, and for the first time in a long while, his mind was quiet. Peace isn't something we find in the world, it's something we awaken within ourselves. And sometimes all it takes is a full glass of water to remind us. If you enjoyed this story, share it with someone who might need a moment of calm today. And remember, peace begins when you pause.